It's been a bonkers week in the Champions League with new Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim thrashing Manchester City in his last game for Sporting Lisbon. Madrid lost to AC Milan. Aston Villa and Arsenal both lost for the first time. 3 of the 4 English teams losing after all of them being unbeaten going to the group of games. A great win also for Celtic. Micah, you were on CBS as usual covering the games, and Al, you were at Anfield, weren't you? Co-coms for the game against Leverkusen.
Co-coms for the Liverpool game, and contrasting halves, very different halves. It was very flat in the first half, but oh my word, the second half was like incredible. Liverpool just battered them. Once they got that first goal, it was like they just didn't have any answers. It was they just steamrolled them, and the Kop, the whole of Anfield, it was absolutely rocking. And once that place gets going, and the fans were great the second half because they sort of stuck with them, even though it was a little bit flat. And they just started getting behind them after 5 minutes or so, and then they responded with a goal, and then it was like wave after wave after wave of attacks, and it was how many they were going to get, and it was just incredible to be there. Liverpool were brilliant.
Can I just ask you, Al, obviously we watch Liverpool a lot this season, but a lot of the time I'm watching them on a TV. I covered one of their games this season. Like you said, the atmosphere wasn't as electric as usual because the football's changed a little while. But how do you see this Liverpool team going forward? Are they true challengers? I believe they're challengers, but sort of in a different way.
Yeah. No, they're a slightly different team. I think their build-up maybe a little slower at times. You don't see Trent going into the middle of the park so often, or he didn't the other day, which makes them, I think, more solid at the back. But with the forward options that they've got, it's like he made decision. He took Nunez out the team, brought Cody Gakpo in, who he then put him straight down the middle rather than out on the left side. Diaz was on the left side. It didn't quite work in the first half, but because Leverkusen was stubborn, they had Frimpong. Normally they play with 3, but when they were defending, they went into a 4-4-2, if you like. Made it very tight and compact, and Liverpool really couldn't find a way around that. And then Liverpool then went man for man in the second half as well, and then it was just chance after chance. There's no doubt in my mind Liverpool are challengers for that competition, because anyone going to Anfield will have a really, really tough game.
I mean, Liverpool, the results they're getting this season, I mean, what a start. I know we've said it many times, Arne Slot, but what an incredible start he's got. And he does seem to be able to turn the team when it's not quite playing, like you said, Alan, in the first half, it's a little bit flat, but it was the same at the weekend,
Brighton,
wasn't it?
they're exactly the same against Brighton.
Yeah.
They could have been 2 or 3 down against Brighton in the first half. They weren't, but then made 1 or 2 changes. But the pass from Curtis Jones to set up the first goal was just incredible for Diaz. And then once they got that one, it was a case of how many they were going to get. And he talks really well as well, Arne Slot, doesn't he? There's nothing complicated about him. He's got the confidence without being arrogant. The Klopp questions were always going to be there. But the way he's handled everything going into Anfield, I think has been so impressive, as has his team. Huge part of what they do is the 2 centre-backs in Van Dijk and Konate. How they defend, how they can go 1v1. Those 2 are rock solid at the back. And when you're tight at the back and mean at the back, with the forward and midfield players that Liverpool have, they're always going to have a chance.
I think one of the perhaps key differences to the Klopp era is the midfield, where he's brought in Gravenberch, hasn't he? And Curtis Jones is getting a lot more action. Both of them, I think, are getting more football than they probably got last season.
Well, when you consider they were after another midfielder, Zubimendi didn't go in there, did he? So they've got Gravenberch in there, they've got Boschlei, they've got McAllister, they've got Jones. So they've got options, And forward options as well were the three that they played. They had Nunez to come on. Salah didn't get his goal, but the second half he was running riot down the right-hand side. And the cross he put in for Gakpo's header was incredible with his right foot. So, yeah, they've got strength, Liverpool, and they're looking strong.
Well, the only team with a 100% winning record in the competition so far, and sit proud and pretty right at the top of the new Champions League. It's called a Champions League phase. We've got a double league in there.
But yeah, it was a really, really exciting week. I preferred Tuesday to last night. I think it was a lot more entertaining. Obviously, we'll speak about Arsenal whenever you're ready to, and Inter. But I just think Tuesday there was a real buzz. Obviously, the Amorim and City is his last game, and
yeah, it was terrific. I just want to read a quote from Xabi Alonso, actually, who's clearly the Leverkusen boss. And he says, Liverpool at the moment is one of the best, if not the best. Former Liverpool man, talking that high praise.
Well, he knows, doesn't he? He knows how powerful Anfield is. And when you've got that backing and you can back it up with very, very good players, then... yeah, they're not going to go away, Liverpool, and they're one of the favourites for that competition. I really believe that, and for the Premier League.
There were quite a few grumbles, weren't there, in the summer about Liverpool not kind of splashing out heavily in the transfer market, but sometimes if you've got a strong squad as it is,
yeah, I think I've mentioned their forwards and midfielders, and also the one tiny worry would be if one of the centre halves were to get injured. I mean, we haven't even spoken about them missing one of their best players in Alisson. Keller has come in and done a really, really good job, but the one tiny worry would be if one of those two centre halves were to get injured.
Yeah, I understand they're after Murillo. From Forest.
Forest, right?
Yeah,
interesting.
They've been linked with them anyway.
Well, those two at Forest have done really well as well this season. It's one of the reasons why Forest are flying high in the Premier League.
Micah, what's happened to your mob? Your ambassadorial role, you might be out of this. If you lose 4 games on the bounce, you're out. Apparently, as an ambassador at Manchester City. I mean, it was an odd game, wasn't it? They battered them in the first half. I mean, they could have been 4 up, couldn't it? Even Amorim himself said we were very, very lucky in the first half.
Yeah, it was a strange game because you look at the result, don't you? And you think, all is not well with Man City. But there should have been 2-3 or 4 up in the first half. It wasn't meant to be. It was good seeing Sporting Lisbon, actually, and how Amorim wants to set up, because there's a lot of grumbles, and he plays 3 at the back, then he goes to a 5, then he goes back to a 4, then the midfielder do these, and then it was good to see what his tactical plan was, and it's actually quite basic, really. Against a team who have the ball like Man City, he goes to a 5 at the back. He has his 2 midfielders who are willing to press really high, and then he presses with his front 3, and if you play through the lines on the front 3, they just get back into position. So I don't want to say it's nothing special, but the basic sort of tactic is that when they're in a low block, when they're sort of trying to press, they do get really high and they are adventurous. But Man City in the first half exposed all these aspects of what they were trying to do. They just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Second half comes, and we were sort of still on a break on CBS. Next thing you know, the 3-1 down. It was absolute chaos. With Man City, I don't want to say they are problems, but the missing Rodri for one. Rodri is key, and that's the obvious thing to say. But they're missing a creative spark. So when De Bruyne is on the pitch, and yes, we talk about his goals and assists, but we talk about him controlling the game in that area, making them amazing passes under pressure. It's almost like Man City at the moment, they're going forward, They're not finishing off the chances. Teams are being more brave against them. They're pressing them. They're going through the middle of the pitch too easy and exposing the defence. And I know people talk about Man City had a young player playing, Poussey, and he was really well thought of, and he's going to be sort of take this game like this is one for him where he's not ready for the level. It wasn't a fact of that. It was a fact that he was left exposed on numerous occasions. And yes, in Champions League football, you get punished because it's the highest level. But I just thought he had no protection. I didn't think it was fair. And with City at the moment, the two disjointed in all areas, from attack to midfield, from midfield to defence. And previously, they wouldn't be punished for some of these errors. Now they're getting punished.
How good did he look, the centre forward, Micah? Gyökeres.
Oh, Yoki, and before he even scored, he's always like, you look at their players who could hurt Man City, but he was outstanding. And the reason why, if I was Man United, I would go and buy him tomorrow. They've got Højlund, they've got Xerxes, and they all come to feet, don't they, a lot? And when they try spin, they don't have that blistering pace or that running power. I don't want to say he's rapid like Mbappe, but the first thing Gyökeres thinks to do is running behind, and he constantly makes runs, not just centrally, but to the left and to the right, and he kept stretching Man City's defence, and they didn't know how to deal with it. And then once he gets in front of goal, he's very composed. He tried a little cheeky little dink over Edison
before he scored.
Oh yeah, one time and I'm thinking, ooh, this lad's got a lot of confidence. But in terms of how he plays in the Premier League, in the right system, a manager who believes in him and believes in what they want to do, he's perfect because he wants to press high, but he also makes really good runs. It's just whether he could do it in the Premier League in terms of the goal scoring.
In 2023, he was scoring for Coventry against Wigan. I mean, he's not a spring chicken. He's 26 years old, so he's been around the block now. But some players do mature later than other players. But he's actually in 2024. He's in all competitions. He has more goal involvements with 64, which is 15 more than Harry Kane, who's in second place. Now, admittedly, the Portuguese league is probably not quite. So it's still a great league, but it's not quite as strong as some of the other leagues in Europe.
But he's got 7 goals in the last few days, hasn't he? He got 4 last Friday, was it? He got a hat-trick the other night. You've just said about you'd go and get him if you were Man United. Hasn't Ruben Amorim said that he's not going to raid his club at all in January?
I think he did.
He'll wait till the summer. No, just quickly before we move on, he's perfect for what they need just because he's a runner. When Man United play and the system that he wants to play, it's almost like their wing backs have to do a lot of running, but the left at times isolated, and they need someone who's going to run in behind. They don't want everyone coming to the ball all the time, and I just think he'd be perfect for the Premier League because he's got that running power. And it's just whether he could do it at a top club. Obviously, it's different to do it at Sporting and Man United.
Quote from Bernardo Silva. We are in a dark place. Everything looks to be going in the wrong way. When we play well, we don't score our chances and we concede too easily. We need to start being better quickly or it will be difficult to come back. Quite emotive.
You haven't heard that too many times over the years, have you, about Man City?
They've never lost 3 games on the bounce for about 800 years.
Welcome to reality.
He's talking like it's the end of an era. But Kevin De Bruyne came on, which will be a plus for them, won't it?
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, he looked quality as well in terms of trying to find a pass. I'm not worried, guys, but they're still doing the same things. You know, we did match of the day, didn't we, with Bournemouth? And what I was looking through from that game is, okay, if you get counter-attacked, that's fine because you expect Man City to be on top. They got beaten by the better team in Bournemouth. That's now starting to be like, question marks. Okay, what's going on? Are they tired? Are they? I'm confused into what's going on, but I'm not panicked because I've seen it before. I've seen them be behind and they go on a run. Something looks a little bit different to that. But yeah, I can't make up my mind whether it's just a little blip or it's more than that just now.
They had a very similar dip in form at the same time last season and they came back strongly. It was more draws than defeats, but nevertheless. Let's talk about Real Madrid.
Oh.
They're going through a sticky spell, aren't they? It's not really working there at the moment, the way they're kind of lining up and the way it's going. I mean, to lose, against Milan quite comfortably, really. I mean, they had chances as well, Real Madrid.
Well, I think they're always going to have chances with what they've got in the team, particularly in forward positions. But it looks and sounds as if that's really made them unbalanced. And the problem with having those chances is with those players, you're obviously going to give chances away to the opposition as well, and they're getting punished at the minute.
I wouldn't buy too much into this Real Madrid performance because how many times have we seen Real Madrid play like that? Unfortunately, they couldn't turn it around. Rudiger gets that offside goal, doesn't it? And you think that's going to spark them. But I agree with Alan, the balance is not right. And when you're talking about Madrid, Rodrigo doesn't get enough praise. He was the balance in the team on that right. He did all the work for not just Vinicius, but for the team in the way they wanted to set up. And now they've got this sort of conundrum where you've got Mbappe, who we talked about Mbappe at the Euros, about him playing as a number 9, but wanting to go to the left and being ineffective from that 9 position. Then you've got Bellingham, who's doing all his running, but getting frustrated. Vinicius Jr. is still doing what he does. They're bringing in Tchouaméni as well, and Valverde with Modric, which Modric on the ball looks really good, but sometimes on the press, it's almost like they're just trying to accommodate for Mbappe not playing the role of a number 9 like he's supposed to. And unfortunately, that's affecting the balance of the team. And normally they've got superstars just to get you out of these moments. But against Milan, it was just too little too late.
They've got Liverpool next, haven't they?
Ooh, tasty.
Unbelievable. What a game.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. Wouldn't it be? I mean, that's a big game now for Real Madrid.
Massive,
in terms of finishing in the top 8. They're under a little bit of pressure there. Let's talk about performance of the week, possibly. Well, certainly one of them, with Celtic beating, Leipzig have been going particularly well in the Bundesliga this season. They played some really good stuff, and I don't know whether you saw the performance of Nicholas Kuhn. Who was involved in pretty much all the good stuff that Celtic did, scored a terrific goal, great assists, gliding past players, looked a real talent.
What a result! Yeah, he was brilliant in the bits that I saw, and you can imagine how it would have been rocking up there, wouldn't it? And I think the format of this competition has given Celtic a great opportunity to progress, and any team that's going to go there in any game will, I think, find it tough because of who they are, and what they create there. And another really good result for them. So they're really enjoying the Champions League this season. It was their previous game was it 0-0, wasn't it? They got a point.
Yes.
So they're loving it at the minute.
Yeah. And a shout for Kasper Schmeichel as well, Leicester's former goalkeeper and hero at the club. I mean, he made a few saves, but one in particular, low to his left, was fabulous save, wasn't
brilliant.
it?
Because his birthday, was it birthday yesterday or this week?
His birthday?
Sure. Yeah, I think it was his birthday as well. Happy birthday, Kasper. So he's a year older than me, so he'll be 38 next, no?
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting. Well, he's a goalkeeper though. They generally last a little bit longer than us outfield players, don't they?
I'm getting to 40 soon. I need to have a good look at myself.
My heart bleeds for you.
Is that all you are, by the way? You look a lot older than that.
Yeah,
working with you two stressing me out. That's what it is.
Some fucking
Get me up
some
at
fucking
8
paper,
o'clock to do podcasts.
some fucking paper around you, lad.
I had a couple of days actually away this week in Copenhagen. Little kind of foodie trip with a few friends.
Ooh.
And went
anything
to...
you want to tell us about? Were they guys or was it young ladies there?
Tom, before you go on, before you tell the story, someone now that we're like supposed mates and all this, we're just colleagues. You know, I respect you. You're like my uncle, aren't you? You're like my father figure. But now they're
At least you didn't say granddad.
They're sending me pictures of you with a special somebody saying, Gary's he's now off the market, is he?
A long-time friend, Micah. Long-time friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Anything else you would like to tell us, Gaz? Or
Yes, I went on a trip with three of my male friends. And we had a few nights in Copenhagen, well, a couple of nights in Copenhagen, and we went to a restaurant for lunch just before we flew back. And the chef there has written books and stuff. His name was Per Turstesen from Bistro Bohème, or Bohème, I think it's probably pronounced, Bistro Bohème, kind of French-style restaurant. And at the end of it, the chef came out and he went, I love Alan and Micah, and you make me laugh so much. In Denmark, chef in Denmark. How about that, boys?
Nice.
It wasn't too bad.
Nice.
But you mentioned about going back to the football side of things, getting away from my personal life. Thank you very much. Back to the football. And I think you're right about this. I'm really enjoying this format because every game feels really important.
No, I agree, yeah.
Every game which has definitely not been the case in the group stages over the years. You know, some team runs away with it. The last two games they've already qualified, didn't count. But this, given the three kind of levels of where you might finish in the Champions League stage or phase, as they call it, I'm enjoying it. I really am.
And I also think because of I'm pretty sure that the top 8 they'll be decided by goal difference as well as because of the number of teams that are going to be competing to get into it. So goals are important as well. So I think that sort of adds to it as well.
Okay, let's turn our attention to last night's games. That Wednesday night. We're recording this on Thursday morning. I suppose we've got to start with Arsenal, who are a little bit like Manchester City, are going through a kind of bit of a difficult phase.
No, they played all right though, didn't they? I thought their performance was pretty good. I know Micah after the game said about fine margins, and that's exactly what it was. You get one decision, another one goes against you, and that was their result last night, and that's the way it's going for them at the minute.
Yeah, they did play okay. They played a lot better than they have done. Look, going to the San Siro is never easy. So they did set up really well. I think there was a little bit more adventurous in the second half. But just for context, Inter Milan rested about 6 or 7 players. You know, like top players. We're talking about Thuram, who's their best player this season. There was no Bastoni, no Acerbi, no Di Marco, no Barella. Fratesi was playing. Çalhanoğlu played. Dumfries had a good game. But in terms of, because I asked on the show, I found it not disrespectful, but I think if Inter were playing a Real Madrid or Barcelona, they would have put their full team out. But they thought they could, I don't want to say oust Arsenal, but tactically just play happy with a draw. And if we get a winner, then we get a winner, which was quite frustrating. I think Arsenal missed Declan Rice in there in terms of the energy. There's no really creative spark, and I mentioned about relying a lot on Saka, but it was nice to see Odegaard back, and I think going forward that's going to have a massive effect creativity-wise. So yeah,
they had 46 crosses, 13 corners and 20 shots. But it comes to that old question, they haven't really got a natural goal scorer, have they? That if no Haaland or or even a Salah, or they just don't.
Yeah, just watching them, they can be happy with what they created. But when I'm watching Arsenal now, I'm thinking a cross or I'm thinking a set piece. Yeah. And Arsenal last season, they could break teams down by very good play. Okay, people are going to keep more of an eye on them because respect them a little bit more. But like these rotations through the middle of the park and these sort of slid balls from midfield through to attack. Havertz does really well in terms of holding it up. He makes really good runs, but they just need that composure, that sort of understanding in front of goal. And they just need a striker who is willing to do that and is composed in front of the goal.
Well, Alan might be available. I wish. Bring the old pro.
Did you think it was a penalty? The handball.
I think it's that one where the handball. I mean, he's so close to me. He just bounces up and hits him. What chance has he got? What are you supposed to do? Pin your arms to your side? Maybe that's what they should do now. Like do some stitches and actually tie your arms to your legs or something. It's just an absurd law.
It's not a penalty. It's not a penalty in our eyes, and it's not a penalty in the majority of fans' eyes. But for some reason, in the law, it's a penalty, which you can't get away from.
We're still going on about this handball law. I mean, it's so absurd, and we keep hearing that they might be going to change it a little bit and simplify. But that was ridiculous. The game was ultimately decided on a complete nonsense.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I thought that was a real shame. Aston Villa, their first hiccup, their first defeat, probably in a game we didn't really expect it to be in, at Club Brugge. But it was, they probably, I don't know, another club possibly running out of steam a little bit, going through I mean, they've been terrific, but that's a couple of defeats now, isn't it?
I mean, the goal is bizarre, which we'll talk about. But they had to rely on Martinez in the first half as well, you know. So they didn't play particularly well. Made a couple of changes, a couple of players coming back, but they looked a bit flat, didn't they? I
mean, Emery's quote, as you mentioned, the goal, Alan. Obviously, it was such a strange one, wasn't it? That. Tyrone Mings that's putting his hand on the ball because he wanted to restart the goal kick again. Emery, it's the biggest mistake I've witnessed in my career. Nothing like a bit of support for you players.
Was it a mistake, guys?
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of the ball's in play and he's handled it, and if you bring in the law into it, but common sense.
Is he not talking about Tyrone Mings' mistake though, or the referee's mistake?
There you go. That's it, isn't it?
So in which case, if he's talking about Tyrone Mings, it was a mistake. I mean, because even if you can sympathise with him.
What's the advantage there? Like if somebody was 5 yards closer to him, I could totally accept it. He's seen someone come in, he's panicked and the ball, and he sort of picks it up or whatever. Yeah. But the starting attack, we know how teams set up. They go close to the goalkeeper, 6-yard box, go a little bit wider of it, and then he start. He must have thought, for some reason in his head, that they've not started. So he was giving it back to the goalkeeper, getting into a position. He handballs it. And I was working with Jamie and Thierry last night. They didn't have sympathy with him at all, but I was like, but there's no real advantage. He's a blunder. He's made a mistake. But I felt sorry for him because he was getting no advantage. So I didn't. Yeah, it was just one of those things. Just one of those things.
It's an odd thing as well, really, for a footballer to do, is to bend down and touch it with your hand. Because you don't really do that, do you? You generally just grab it foot and
kick it back,
knock it back. And but don't forget, Gabriel did exactly the same thing last season, but they didn't on that occasion award a penalty, and there was a bit of furore about it. But I mean, I did feel for him, because you can imagine that you think, oh, what have I done? What was I thinking? Why did I do that?
I think if you're an opposition player, you'd say, hang on a minute, that's the law. He's handballed that. There's no doubt about it. But from a Villa point of view, you're obviously going to look at it and think, well, hang on, come on. But I'd be screaming for a penalty if I'm the opposition player as well.
I think that was his Champions League debut as well. And all what he's been through with his knee, he's worked so hard to get back, played a couple of games, a biggest night for him. And look, I'm not making it about Mings. He should get special treatment because he's done all that. But I just thought the decision was hard. I just thought it was, there was no advantage. So I thought it was harsh. Yeah.
Such a shame that the game's decided by that, isn't it? It's like
correct.
It's tough.
Yeah,
but
it really is. They've got time. They've got 9 points. They're going pretty well regardless. There's some great stories, and again, I reiterate the point. I like this Champions League phase. I'm going to always call it that now because Atalanta haven't conceded a goal yet after 4 games. Brest, who are sitting 4th in the league, always brings a smile to Micah's face. The mention of the word Brest
that's why.
brings out the. The Barca train keeps running. Another 5 goals for them. Rafinha, Yamal, Lewandowski have contributed a combined 51 goals and assists in their first 16 games this season, equaling the record by Messi, Neymar and Suarez in 2016-17. Terrible result for PSG as Atletico scored in the last minute. And so it's lots to play for. English clubs still looking okay despite a bit of a wobble this week for everyone except for Liverpool. But well done, Liverpool. 2 points clear at the top of the Champions League phase. That's it for this episode of The Rest is Football. We'll be back on Monday to review the weekend's Premier League fixtures. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great weekend.